they can still get the better out of DZ. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. We go into the bans now. Carter, let's get your thoughts on things as the bans get started.
My thoughts on things? I have some thoughts actually on DZ starting on attack, but I'll save that for after the ban phase. We can see how things round out. Before we get there, we've seen a lot of attacking bans throughout the group stage so far. Seen some Bravas, seen some standard hard breaches, seen a Sledge ban as well, but instead Parabellum will ban the Nook, which Panba has been playing to great effect, not only in the NAL, but specifically in DarkZero's past 2 games in which they've achieved dominant scorelines.
So Nock's going to end up being the first attacker to be banned out here. Nock has quite a good capability to sneak in, especially on the second floor clears, so not going to want to leave that kind of wild card entry potential in play for either team. DarkZero, of course, having the attacker ban now is going to go for Osa, which is actually a very interesting one. Not necessarily seeing a whole lot of Osa in the previous game that we played out here, but between these two teams, could have spotted a bit more potential for it to be played out. So DarkZero could be a little bit more of a target ban against PB because of that one. Moving over to the defender side of things, DarkZero has their final choice, and they're going to go for one of the 3 kind of power defender operators right now in a zombie. PB more than likely able to choose into one of the remaining 2, or a Mira ban also is potentially likely here. Indeed, it'll be one of those remaining 2 power operators. Solus will get knocked out.
That will leave Valkyrie on the board for Parabellum to play with for the first 6 defending rounds. And of course, IQ, able to be played, can look for those black eye cameras, hunt them down, and destroy the intel that the defense can bring. But I wanted to say, because Demo was very worried, he was very heated about, oh, if you go to theme park, if you start attack, what's going on? What's going to happen? Well, DarkZero are coming off a very hot 2-game win streak on Cafe, in which they have run up the scoreboard on attack. Now, obviously, theme park not at all the same map as Cafe, but it's 2 defender-sided maps in which DarkZero and NA as a whole have bucked the trend and had a very good time on Cafe, and DarkZero in particular has had some very clinical attacks. Now, we've not seen them play theme park so far this stage. So maybe DarkZero has the worst theme park attacks of all time cooked up for us, and Parabellum will go 6-0. Me personally, seeing how clinical DarkZero have been, especially once they're in a position to get that bomb down, I'm honestly betting a little bit with them right now on these attacks.
All right, well, we'll see if that ends up being true. You can see what's going to play potential up here at the top left. DarkZero just need to get 6 rounds, basically, meaning they either win or lose in overtime, or, of course, win inside of regulation as well. They'll finish in the top 2, but if they lose in regulation, fail to get that 6th round onto the board, that's where the Sonics instead will steal that 2nd place finish away from them. Parabellum, like you said, playing the spoiler here. So we'll see if they can pull off the same feat we just saw out of Beast Coast in the previous game, who denied M80's own ascent into the top 2.
This will be a good time for DarkZero to set the pace as well. Amaru, Ying, and Dokkaebi on the board. Amaru likely sending it in through break to acquire early control, but you have those Candelas and Dokkaebi calls to make any initial roam clear or execute far more hectic for the defense than I imagine Parabellum are hoping will happen. Valkyrie might give you some intel, but if you're completely blind, can't access the cams because of those Dokkaebi calls, well, you're in for a world of hurt once DarkZero get close to the site. 45 seconds in, and the attack is very much focused on acquiring control of the west side of the map, all the way over by Arcade, Cafe, and Break Room as well. But this can be very difficult. There is a Valkyrie close by, and if Panba flies on in, but isn't checking his corners, Skies can get the first pick.
Guys, of course, waiting for that opportunity, but ultimately going to end up giving up positioning here. Just feels a little bit too hot to stick around. Could have ended up giving over the very first kill as a result of that one, but instead it's going to be Canadian that falters here on the Ying in the process of chucking a Candela out. Gavini at least on position to trade that back out. Finishes off Skies. He tries to reaggress forward from his arcade position a few moments prior. Spiff also heavily injured when you consider the fight that he got himself into as well. So DZ may still be able to take advantage upon this situation if the follow-through is good. Although Case is currently down. We'll have to see if that was once again due to the advances of Canadian, or if it's just sitting on the roof somewhere. Nope, it's sitting over here inside of Logi, in fact. So Parabellum actually going to keep the player they have in the area, but double down on that right now. Although I do believe, nope, it's going to be the Alibi playing that one. So Laxing will be able to maintain positioning over top of it and continue to do so as NGR tries to challenge against it, pays the price with his life. Fish similarly finds the pickup against Panba. Attackers down to only 2 now.
Just achieved in Gavini. Laxing can easily take this gunfight, go his way, catch the attacker completely off guard, and get a 3K so far. Achieved now at a 1v4. Could maybe pick up somebody like Spiff or Laxing on reduced HP, but he's got to get that diffuser first, and that's where at least a couple of these defenders are going to be focused on. Laxing gunning for 4 at the moment. could very well find it, as Achieved has those 2 flashbangs, but Laxing will run away, play keep away at the moment. He could even break open that window, then hop back into maintenance down below if he really wants to be annoying, but he'll play his life instead. He could go for the streak. Flashbang messes up. Achieved maybe even blinds himself as he runs straight into the Alibis MX for Storm. PB get the first round as DarkZero have, surprisingly, a very uncoordinated attack.
Yeah, DarkZero is certainly missing a few key elements to that clear. Could be due to the fact that they were split up as heavily as they were, at least on the initial attempts to take some aggressive battles against the PB extensions, or another factor. But either way, it does not play out the way they would have liked it to. So PB has a fairly easy time locking in round number 1 for themselves, moving along fairly quickly to their second site, which is going to be Bunk and Daycare upstairs.
We'll definitely need to see on Bunk and Daycare a lot more effective clear of that extension, because as we saw before in Initiation in Office, Parabellum still decided to hold it very intensely, even though the site was thrown. Now going to Bunk and Daycare, this will be even more a focal point of Parabellum's defense. There is no Azami on the board, so that does mean that we could see it, but we won't see the same way somebody holding aggressively in Top Dragon or Office as you're seeing right now. Instead, this might be behind a shield with some ADSs or magnets. In this case, only the ADSs, if that were the case. Maybe the Warden would fill that position. There are 3 deployable shields on the defense, so many of these players, mainly the Frost and the Warden, could fill that position. But DarkZero, even though they're not bringing the Candelas, will need to see a more coordinated clear, because it seemed like half the team was operating on one playbook and one half was operating on the other. And for the second half with Canadian, he had the diffuser, and once he went down, there wasn't a lot of hope for DarkZero to recover that unless Parabellum made a lot of mistakes.
So DarkZero will quickly look to try and course correct, if at all possible, here on round number 2. PB, obviously with a much heavier spread defense, going to be potentially more abusable by DZ inside of the early round, where they attempted to do so, of course, back in round number 1, but unfortunately got beaten in most of those situations. So DZ will have to be a little bit careful in terms of where they try to throw that aggression, as PB could very well turn that situation back into their own favor as well if they're able to control it as dominantly as we were seeing back in round number 1. But it's a slow roll, as you might usually expect from DarkZero here to start things out, just throwing a few players onto the roof to open up hatchwork. Not really looking to steal any control aside from that. There's still plenty of additional drone work that can be done.
And speaking of drone work, one thing we have noticed about DarkZero, especially in their game against SSG, but throughout the past couple days leading up to last round, very heavy expenditure on drones. Often by half the round left, they might be only down to 3. In the case of last round, they don't necessarily have Rotero drones or Kludge drones to rely on. They only really have those drones, and they might be able to substitute with a Dokkaebi call, but going against a team like Parabellum on a map like Theme Park, where you can rat very effectively, more effectively arguably than you can on Cafe, those drones, even with the addition of a Dokkaebi, can make things a little bit harder. Fish especially, just hopping out onto Achieved, does get the opening pick, but it's an advantage short-lived for Parabellum. Cavini will hop out, it's only a 4v4.
Exchange is found much more quickly this time by DarkZero. Numbers are kept under control. So PB not able to run away with things as we saw back in the first round, at least not initially. Still quite a few hard point positions to be dealt with. Ones the DarkZero are not going to be able to find a very easy access to. As you scroll on the players, you can start to see them formulating as well, such as the inside of the office vault, and on the inside of the sites themselves too, with PB already having fallen back quite a bit.
Second Dokkaebi call will come through, and right now DarkZero forced to flood it through Arcade and Cafe, and all the kills will just come through, I guess. Very quickly moving on in. Laxing now the only one left.
Good flood from DarkZero. Parabellum not ready for the immediate challenge. Thought the Toxic Babe and the rest of their utility would have been enough to proficiently hold things back, but is not the case in any sense of the word. DZ quickly make things up, and now tie us up at 1-1.
Didn't expect them to just send it that quickly. Thought we'd,
Parabellum weren't either, I guess.
have a little more time to flirt, just kind of talk, ask about each other, but
Take it slow,
And I'd take it slow. DarkZero just like, no, we're just gonna walk on in.
No,
honestly,
I'm calling the Uber.
and honestly, in that case, it worked out, because one problem with those Arcade and Cafe clears, no matter when you do it, whether it's 15 seconds left or a minute 15 seconds left, it's going to come down to gunfights. It's going to come down to who can get the first pick in that initial bout of engagements and whether you can play those trades effectively. Might as well not wait and stall out and let the defense get more and more time to reposition. Once you get that intel and once you even think you have an opening, just send it on in and make it work from there. So DarkZero, even though it caught me off guard, I like the decisiveness to bring it back for their first attack.
All right, DarkZero on the board officially now, tying it up quickly at 1-1, 5 to go. And top 2 is confirmed for them, but PB, of course, still looking to stand in the way of that one. Moving over to their tertiary site now on the lab hold downstairs, although quite a bit of an extension over to areas like break, as you're going to see here too, as well as the inside of the bunks. Hold things back for DZ, cause a few more obstacles for them to be able to be taken care of. It's going to cause quite a few repicks as well, having to go down into lab 4 to 5, and if changing things up, it's only the Flores, the one you'd expect to stay in play, that does in fact remain on its initial pick. Everyone else ends up changing up the operators, with the Buck, Jackal, Dokkaebi, and Ace when it's finally locked.
And if you're watching this game after also watching the M80 Beast Coast game, you know why that Flores was the one operator that didn't get switched, why NGR picked that and stuck with it the entire prep phase. Those 4 Rotero drones can easily roll on into lab or storage and detonate almost all the utility down there. Castle Barricades, Frost Mats, EDDs, Melusi Banshees, Black Eye cameras really being the only exception on this lineup that can't be destroyed by those Rotero drones. Of course, NGR's got to be careful. 2 have already been shot. Parabellum being very effective at spotting those, despite the absence of a mute jammer. You can only shoot those with the guns. They are being very attentive to making sure this utility does not get destroyed for free. Full
Overwatch in the drone hole as well does give away the position of Spiker, still playing onto the inside of Billiards, but he'll notice that drone eventually and take it back out with the shots from behind him there. He will have to change his position though, which means that once again, his Rotero drones may have a greater capability to sneak back in, currently being worked on, I believe, a different part of the map. In fact, NJR trying to work those in. He succeeds with one more actually going through this time, as we can hear the explosion going off in the distance. Still one more in the pocket. It'll actually deal with the deployable shield as well, so great piece of utility once again found by this one. One more still to be utilized. They're going to immediately use just to quickly get rid of the frost mats. They don't, unfortunately, have to go for that look down when they hop in through the window, especially if there's going to be a challenger from PB trying to stop that bathroom entry in the first place.
Very good work by DarkZero. Right as we reach a minute 30 left, they clear and use all the Rotero drones, clear out most of the utility, and then also secure control of Armory and Throne. Secure that point to apply horizontal pressure onto the player's arm of the site. Achieved can now rotate up as well, use the skeleton key to maybe open up some vertical holes inside of Cafe, but DarkZero have a lot of the actual map control, or most of the map control they need to set up and execute. If they can maybe work a pick on this roamer on the top floor and if Fish gets a little too aggressive, which he sometimes can do as a player, they'll be in a prime position to hit the site.
Fish and the rest of DarkZero winding up for that push. Still no confidence to make it happen just yet. Time quickly running out here as there's a few off-site positions still to be dealt with, mainly Laxing running rampant over by Gong at the moment here. DarkZero not able to track him down entirely just yet, and they're gonna waltz right past him. He'll go down, and I believe that may have been the case drop by Canadian as well there, so an even bigger mistake should that have ended up transpiring here, and indeed, he's gonna have to wrap himself back over, try to work himself back in a position to pick that up. And they may just not have the time to make this happen. The sudden pick from Laxing may have very well won the round when everything is said and done, because they've got to try and collapse on themselves. Panba at least getting the trade and the case along with him, but now he's got to dash back to the site where the rest of his team is trying to make the push happen, but Parabellum more than ready for the challenge. Spiff and Spike with 2 pickups on their own. Panba had achieved all that remains. Panba, even with the glitched vision, gets that one nicely done, but that seems to be it. All they can find is Fish finishes things off for PB instead, and the defense finds their correct pickup here. They'll find round 3.
And that very aggressive drone economy from DarkZero is finally starting to bite them. It was not at all a factor, well, it was a factor, but it wasn't really a big one in their game against SSG. They ended up winning 7-0, wasn't a big factor in the game against Beast Coast. They were still able to cruise to a comfortable 7-3, but now against PB on a map like Theme Park, that is not just a big box like Cafe, but a maze, a network of hallways and rooms, it's starting to cost them. Laxing is able to sneak by up Gong, shoot some drones, and Canadian is none the wiser. Drops the diffuser down in the hallway. Similar story happened in round number 1. The same round PB won, the same round Laxing was able to get that 4K because of a very similar reason. As they go back to Throne, this is another thing that DarkZero have to watch out for. The Dokkaebi might no longer be enough to substitute some poor drone economy. They might need to do a little bit more work and conserve some more of those drones to catch some of these PB players who are more than willing to lurk.
So DarkZero starting to surface with a few issues here. They make the run back over towards Throne for the second time so far in this game. The Montaigne coming out for Canadian. And a little bit more control to the situation alongside the usual execute utility, which is going to echo forward from the previous run as well. The Ying, for instance, being added in there for Pan. We'll see what type of effectiveness it can have this time, as it was DarkZero tripped up by the off-site players more than anything else. So we'll have to see if they're able to get some better management of that this time, as ultimately that could make the switch over to the Montaigne a bit of a moot point if DarkZero never gets to focus on the actual site take, such as what we saw back in round number 1.
There's certainly a safer position for Canadian. He was on the Ying in the first round. He died literally immediately. And then in round 3 as well with the Case, playing a bit more of an aggressive stance. Drop the Case in sight as well this time with the Monty. Could still be at the forefront, but he'll be a lot more secure behind that fully extended shield. Could still be the first one to drop down inside of security, but it's the initial util clear for DarkZero early on. Not trying to play too aggressive so far. They will keep things simple. They'll look to acquire and establish break room control with Gavini on the rappel, but a very, very strong rotation over to Cafe side. They'll be trying to use the Monty to force their way into Arcade and Cafe, maybe avoid some of the normal gunfights that would meet them upon the initial entry, and then along with Gavini outside a break, try and pinch one of these 2 roamers on the top floor.
DarkZero starts the initial push forward here. Motion sensor goes off for Skies, and he's able to fend off the first bit of pressure from Achieved as well. The Montaigne not changing up the difference here for the squad. However, they are able to course correct upon him. Canadians given the opportunity to drop the shield and drop Skies along with it. So we go back to the 4v4 as a Candela also comes in to support Canadian a little bit as he has additional pressure being thrust on him by another member of PB.
It's now 4 opening kills in a row for Parabellum, though 3 of them have been traded by DarkZero, so they're still fighting back. The Parabellum are the ones at least stopping them for a moment and getting that early victory. The Roamers have, well, for the most part, fallen back now to close to the bottom floor. But Laxing, oh, Laxing, never keen to give up his position. No, he wants to stay and fight, but no big 4K this time. He lights up Panba to 50 HP, but then he's spotted, uses the Bailiff to open a hatch, and now fall back. But Laxing has been the main one for Parabellum, lurking in these off-site, off positions that will often not be spotted by DarkZero's drones. They have top floor. The attack can start making their way down, but Laxing is the player I'm looking at, joined by maybe one other roamer like Fish, to try and throw DarkZero off balance.
So everything locked down to a 4v4. Once again, timing is going to become a big concern for DarkZero, but as we've seen many times in the past, DarkZero don't have much of an issue thriving on those low-timed situations. Fish, of course, still going to be looking to change up the status quo with that hatch hop as well. If he's not going to be challenged anywhere near barrels, he can reascend up to the top. Cause some serious problems here, although it looks like at least one member of DarkZero has read in. Rather, never mind, that's a member of Parabellum reading in those possibilities. They're going to go for a double pinch upon. The site is left quite weak because of that, but now Fish begins the closure here of the wrap, equalized it to a 3v3. Plant goes down, but Fish finds another kill as well. We even had the upstairs roamers come back into the equation just yet. Gavini now reinserting himself. He gets a double pick, brings it back down to the 1v1 as Spiker is all that's left now in this situation. 1v1, Spiker dashes back out, or rather, Gavini dashes back out of the site. They'll give the reset here for Gavini, and oh, almost looked like Spiker was going to be able to win it, but never mind. Gavini with the composure shuts it down in the 1v1 instead, and DZ takes the second go of it here in Throne.
It's the power of that change to the reload system right there. He goes for the reload, but then realizes, oh no, he's going to peek. I can't just reload cancel anymore. I got to switch to the pistol, and that very narrowly costs him his life, but he still swings it. Words are hard for the last match of the day. Wins it out, switches it up. Gets DarkZero's second round of the attack, but admittedly, you know, good round to DarkZero, good on Gavin, good 1v3. Parabellum retook that completely, and Gavin had to retake after the retake from DarkZero had already failed, or after the EQ from DarkZero had completely faltered to Parabellum. Fish and Laxing completely 180'd it for Parabellum. Retake the top floor, peek Canadian as he comes off the diffuser before he can activate his Monty shield. That at that point, Parabellum have the game. So good clutch from Gavin, but these have been very solidly Parabellum defenses so far.
So 2-2 tied up. DarkZero probably okay with the status quo of things at the moment here, considering the fact that, again, they got that attack restart. We talked quite a bit about that in the pregame. As long as they're able to keep it that way and avoid going down in a 4-2 scenario, even a 2-4 would not be the end of the world for them, I don't think, at this point. They can tie it up at 3-3, though things are going to be in a much better situation for them when they switch over to the defensive side. They'll certainly be feeling like confidence to swing back up to 7, because as you can see, if they actually win this game, they'll actually place first in the NL, overtaking SSG, who sits at the top of the standings. That'll be a very well-deserved win as well when you consider the fact that they 7-0'd SSG just yesterday, so very well-deserving of that first place over them.
But I think DarkZero and SSG as well have definitely taken a back seat, at least rhetorically, to OXG, who we've all called, and even very recently Mr. B called in the interview, the best team in the NAL, and DarkZero fell 7-2 to SSG just a few days ago, last week, I believe, on Chalet. So once that kind of happened, I think the conversation around DarkZero kind of quieted down, but they are able to win this in regulation and launch over SSG. People could feel that OXG is the top team in the NAL all they want, but at least in the group stage, mathematically, DarkZero can be the one with that crown. We'll see if they can make it work, because in terms of opening picks, they are dead last in this game against PB. That's 5 in a row now for Parabellum, who have managed to win these opening picks. They might not always convert them, but in the early round, Parabellum are very much the king.
Important to note as well, the format is very, very competitive this year, basically having your next few weeks of play decided in only 4 play days. Super had a really good clip talking about this one as well, where it's just a very high-pressure situation, and for a lot of teams, they may not necessarily be able to stand up to said pressure here, so that can be changing up the standings a little bit as well. Sky scores the first kill, the second kill on this round here. He's able to take out Panba. Chief had already been dropped earlier on as well, so it's a solid lead for PB yet again to start things out here and bring it down to a 5v3.
Canyon will drop down, join the clear from the west side. Gavini lurking down below. Might be the main player who could bring this back from DarkZero. Certainly won't be drones, only down to 3. The only player with 1 on the board aside from the Rotera drones is NJR with 1 in his back pocket. So Gavini might have to face check a lot of these angles, only relying on drones to watch his back, as he has to watch his front to make sure he can win this fight on Arcade Stairs. Taking down the default is good, but DarkZero right now, it might be slow, but they are just trying desperately to find an opportunity with this nade, maybe from Gavini, but definitely not the shot from Fish, who makes it a 2v5.
Looking likely for Parabellum to lock in a 3rd round here with the way that things are playing out. DarkZero just guessing for entries and unfortunately not coming out with a winner when everything is said and done. Fish fed a 3rd 1v1 now as he makes it a triple kill on this round. NJR at least trades on to Fish. He's ready for the arcade play. It seems like he is actually. Spiker gets caught out there initially, so he'll be forced a little bit further back down the arcade stairs. NJR still without the control he really needs here, has to try and force the issue forward. Spiker smartly backs up. He's going to let his teammates trying to snap the jaws shut slowly but surely here, especially with the time running down low as well. Not much of a hope for NJR to outright clutch this one down from the 1v5. Just trying to play out the timing as best as he can. The flash downstairs, we can at least make the push against Spiker, but Spiker once again smartly backs away from that when he hears the nade being chucked. So not giving him anything here, not giving any potential for a clutch away. Just some dead time for NJR to try to play this one out, and more than likely for Canadian to give some input on the team comms while all that was going on. PB closes down another one and takes the lead, guarantees a tie at halftime, and now as well with a 3-2 lead.
They've won each of their sites as well at least one time. They don't have a perfect record on any site except Lab, which they played once and then won once. They will likely go back to Armory and Throne as it is unlocked due to Gavini's 1v3. Now, I will say DarkZero 0-5 on opening picks. Achieved in Canadian, actually. Those are the only 2 people on DarkZero who have been in the opening death. Achieved at 3, Canadian at 2. But they have 2 rounds. If they only end up getting a 4-2 half, there are worse things in the world on Theme Park Attack. If you go to your defense as having won 2 attacking rounds, sure, one of them was a 1v3, sure, you might be 0-6 in opening duels, but that's still 2 rounds on Theme Park, which is very much a defender-sided map, at least given the previous history. So Parabellum are definitely looking to end this 4-2 here, because their main problem in the NAL as well have been their attacks. On Oregon, on most of the maps they've played, it has been their attacks that have been the weaker side. So getting a 4-2 here is nice for DarkZero. They'll live with it. Getting a 4-2 here might be necessary for Parabellum if they want to try to win this.
They take the bold choice as well of returning back over to Throne Room after initially losing it just 2 rounds back. So they're going to retry this one, feeling that it's an overall stronger site setup compared to what they had cooking in the lab back when they tried that over on round 3. So we'll see if this will yield results for Parabellum and potentially set up that 4-2 that you were just talking about, or if DarkZero was able to repeat the success they found in the 4th round and pick it up for themselves. Still keep us even at a 3-3 overall halftime scoreline. Just a few pieces of setup still needing to be deployed here for PB. That's why you're going to see the Oryx run through and set things up over towards initiation to delay the play from DarkZero. Almost a timing play lining up there for Spiff, but he backs away from the door just before Panba potentially lined up an angle against him.
Panba's been one of the standout players for DarkZero, though overshadowed by NJR to be sure. Again, top player in the league consistently throughout these 4 play days. Achieved has been a little bit lackluster, definitely the lowest rated player on the roster, but he's had his moments, he's aided in the structure, and you might be in one of the lowest rated players in the NAL, but if your team gets first, doesn't really matter. Panba will open things up onto Fish. That's the first entry for DarkZero throughout these 6 rounds. So starting things off on a good note, if you want to try to end this 3-3, end this even.
The rest of DarkZero beginning to hop their way in. Initial map control still need to be gained by them. That means Parabellum still has full freedom to rotate around themselves. At the top yellow player going to get spotted out by that drone. be very out and about, even over by Electrical as well. We see players trying to maintain positioning against the initial clear from DZ. Achieve, though, gonna try to rush his way in, and he's not alone in doing so either, but PB are more than ready for the challenge. Achieved and Gavini attempt to make that play together. NJR also on the inside of barrels right now, is able to fend off one flanked angle from Skies, and surprisingly for DZ, it's evenly traded when everything finally calms down a little bit here. Brought to a 2v2, but DarkZero, all that map control they fought for is gone. They're just stuck outside of connector now, and there's still someone from PB maintaining not only throne control, but case control currently as well.
DarkZero do have those two EE1Ds to freeze these defenders in position, and that could make playing trades a lot more difficult. You might just have to go for broke and then reveal your position to one of the remaining attackers. Both remaining drones now gone for Panbazoo and NJR. Pamba has two flashes, those EE1Ds and the flash combo. That'll need to make this for DarkZero if they want to secure round 6.
Shots come in from Spiff, is able to knock out Panba. NJR finds the exchange, but it's Spiff once again. It's rarely even challenged here inside of the clear from behind throne. He has no problem mopping up shop, especially since he knew the attackers had to try and go forward to take case control at some point there. So it's PB take the edge off of things here at halftime as they lead it 4-2. DarkZero with a lot to make up for now as they take up the mantle on the defensive side for the second half.
But again, if you're a DarkZero fan, do not fret. Do not worry just yet. Parabellum have not been a very good attacking team in the league so far, to put it bluntly. And on Theme Park, which as we've seen against M80, can be a very difficult map to attack. And even Beast Coast, who struggled to gain around for a few bit, needed to find their footing. Only winning that game when they did because of a 1v1 earlier on. This map is not the easiest to attack, and for a new team that is struggling to find how they fit together, how they want to play the game, and is already struggling for their attacks, this could very much be a good comeback for DarkZero. And if they get these 2 rounds in a row, Parallel might have to hit the timeout button. But until we get there, let's see how DarkZero can handle Thrones. It's the main site for the defense. They've got plenty of intel. They got the Yokais. They have the Black Eye cameras. You got a lot to get aggressive with.
Let's see if DarkZero can exercise the newly born aggression they can hopefully find on this defensive side of things. Well, for Parabellum, of course, just 3 of the remaining 6 rounds need to be claimed by them. And like we said before, they can play spoiler DarkZero, hand over a 2nd place finish to the Sonics roster instead. So I'm certainly very happy to find that themselves if they can muster it, but unfortunately only has the power to just watch things and hope for the best at this point. So we'll have to see if things end up playing out their way. If PB stays consistent now on the attacking side, a lot of issues to correct though. As Card was mentioning, it has not been the best few weeks for PB with regards to their attack. Still trying to set up, obviously, the much more difficult side of the two here on Siege for a new roster altogether, coming together for this season.
Some very light pressure around the map. Hatches opened up, doors opened up, but at least 2 players over by Arcade and Cafe, and none to speak of looking to push cash. So Panbazoo will likely rotate over to aid the side on Arcade and Cafe. DZ, of course, need to be careful. There's only 1 player actively on the site at the moment. Parabellum haven't realized that and are in position to capitalize off of it. But that is something that DarkZero need to worry about. They'll need to rotate back very quickly should Parabellum begin to move on in. In the meantime, the attack will focus on clearing out Canadian from Arcade. Do have some grenades to deal with it. 3 remaining, but Parabellum are struggling to find some success. Only some little bit of damage done to Canadian and Achieved so far.
So, play continues to move out here for Parabellum. They look to isolate out the first kill if at all possible. Already some good damage going on to Achieved and Canadian as well, but to follow through into the site. Panba claims the opening kill, but Spliff gets a trailer to Achieved with his knife somehow. They're laxing as well, on point for the entry itself. Finds the better of Canadian. A lot of damage sustained by PB, but they ultimately end up with a +1 advantage. Now that they take that initial control for themselves, Gavini gonna be looking to change up that status quo though, as he still holds initiation, but is not too keen on continuing to hold, so backs up over here towards the edge of Dragon. He's gonna try to work himself back to the site probably sooner rather than later. Shots come in from him though. Patience works out and he's able to get the trade on a spiker, equalizing things again, and now putting DZ in control of this situation with that very important trade.
Love that decision by Gavini right there. Knows he has time, know he's got a long angle. Very unlikely that Parabellum will check that very long angle from the railing in Arcade to security. makes that decision, gets the kill, and now 2 of the 3 remaining players of Parabellum are on low HP, and they're forced to flood in. They've done no work opening up maintenance wall, no work opening up yellow wall. This is all going to come down for how they can push in through split when these gunfights, and DarkZero vastly outnumber them in terms of health.
DarkZero, though, going to lose another one of their defenders here as Laxing is once again able to snipe out one of these players from DZ. Unsure if we saw Pam getting a bit too adventurous there or something else goes wrong, but Gavini, the timing on his shots, catches one, trying to drop down into the hatch. A second makes it through, though, and Laxing will now start the process of putting the case down on the ground. Impact in, but no, it's not going to catch Laxing. He's got the wrong guess as to his position. Thankfully, quick correction once he finally figures it out, but still, PB, Fish has just fed the last 2 kills upstairs here as they both rotate directly into his angle underneath of the hatch.
And Gerard, unfortunately, wrong on the guessing game for where the bomb is going down that allows Laxing the very small amount of time he needs. And Fish is very excited after that one. Parabellum get a very key attacking round win on Throne. And it might still be a slow game, might still be a close one in the end. But Parabellum, if they just secure 2 more rounds, will lock DarkZero out of that first place position. Might even just keep them in second, but if the round differential doesn't go their way either, remember, if DarkZero drop 1 round on the round differential, it'll be the Sonics who get top 2.
All right, let's give us a moment here, folks. So it looks like we do need to go for a rehost real quick. Parabellum gonna drop out of the game as they had one of their players crash. Unfortunately, so don't want to throw them into the round with, you know, a player down. So we're gonna hop out of game real quick here, restart the lobby, and restart things at that same score line. Still, of course, looking at Parabellum maintaining the advantage, but now it's really time to test it here. If they can close out 1 more, especially on a secondary site from DZ, they're going to be set up for match point, and as well, that'll create some serious difficulties for DZ if they cannot run that gauntlet back over the course of a series of 3 back-to-back-to-back rounds. They would need to win to still be able to maintain that second place finish here in the league, not giving it over to the Sonics instead.
But if that happens, what a comeback for the Sonics. I mean, it's not how you'd want to get second place. I mean, I know the team will be happy, but definitely a team that has been very critical of their own performance, very publicly, very transparent about the problems they've been suffering. But to still get top 2 in the league, to still get that bye to the second round of the playoffs, where you only have to win 1 best-of-3 to make it all the way to the international stage, I mean, that'll be a very, very nice feeling to at least go into next week on, after all the struggles they've suffered, that, hey, we struggled, it was very hard, we fought extremely hard to get the wins that we did, but we could still be able to make it work.
And so once again, just setting ourselves up. Just going to take a moment, folks, as we do have to make sure we set up all the rounds and everything to be played out the same way also. So shouldn't take too long here. But
actually starting all the way over. back to 0-0.
Please, no. that rule wouldn't get abused at all.
Can you imagine? Oh no, my game crashed. Guess we got to start back at 0-0. Start it all over.
Absolutely not. I'd personally put a stop to that the first time I saw it.
Oh, you'd have to step in?
Yeah.
You'd have to get active?
No, I would just call it out and be like, listen, I know exactly what's going on here.
Can you
I won't stand for it.
Can you imagine, let's say in the hypothetical world that rule is in place, let's say like M80 does it or something, and John's like, I'll be back. 5 seconds later, you see a portal open up.
I'm actually the admin as well. Little do people know. I make all of the decisions.
John's not just the admin. He's like one of those characters in like John Wick. It's like the admin, but in like capital letters. And you have the ability to like open an extra dimensional portal into Kino's room. That'd be a crazy
I'm like
role.
that guy in the Face It TOS that can go to your house randomly and check if you're cheating or whatever. If anyone remembers that meme from, it's an old one. But yeah.
Look at Gav. Look at him flexing.
He's got to show off the shot sleeve, you know?
He's going to the gym. Good guy, Gav. Mm. Yeah, he might have known this, John. He's from CL, you know.
Oh, is he?
I casted him for a little bit. You know,
he's crazy.
He's the best player in Challenger League. You know, no big deal. No big deal.
I thought he came from Valorant, personally.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
No, he didn't. He did not.
All right, well, we're loading back into the map now.
He's got more sense than that.
And yeah, which should just take another moment or two here, folks. Like I said, just waiting on 1 or 2 more players, and then we should be good to resume the game here and see if DarkZero can bring the comeback back under their control. Definitely a little bit more of a tumultuous match than I think a lot of people were expecting, especially considering that PB literally doesn't have anything to play for in this matchup. At least
literally nothing. They are last, guaranteed.
Just bragging rights, literally, at this point. Like I said, it's still going to be 8th place for them. Even if they win this in regulation and follow through the 2 or 1 rounds, they still need to close things down on here. But still, bragging rights, and of course, a nice little kickback from the Sonics certainly going to help things as well.
That was funny. That caught me off guard. That was funny. They've got another thing to play for as well, though. And it's the biggest one of them all. You know what it is?
Ego?
That's another, not that one.
That's a smaller thing.
That's a smaller word than what I'm about to say. It's only 3 letters. Playing for comedy. Comedic value. Because you know what it is? It would be funny if they won. Because again, guys, they are last. They are literally 8th place. They cannot improve their position, but they can make this a very funny way to end the group stage. The DarkZero, who's 7-0'd SSG, the team in first right now, could lose to the worst team in the league on a theme park. That'd be very funny.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see if the comedy becomes reality here. If Parabellum wins 2 out of the next few rounds here. It's up to Bunk Daycare as DarkZero locks another site for themselves. They need to run 3 in a row just to tie us up at 5-2. But it's important to note, DZ don't necessarily need to win this game outright. They just need to get at least 6 rounds, trigger the overtime at a bar minimum, and they will still be in position to take that 2nd place victory from the overall group stage here at Phase 1. The enemy. The new enemy.
The last Rainbow Six North America League. Can Parabellum just get 1 round in it? Just 1 round right now. It's all they need. Well, not all they need, but it'd be very difficult for DarkZero. Be very difficult for DarkZero.
That's step 1.
That's step 1. That's step 1 of a 2-part plan. Step 1, get around. Step 2,
get another one.
Win. Get another round. that was a much better way of phrasing it. I just tossed the joke off to you next.
I don't know why. Maybe it's the late hours, but my wittiness has increased for some reason.
Wittiness. Plus 10.
It's DarkZero now. Look to try and solidify at least a 3rd round for themselves. Pretty traditional lineup to try and play things. Although the Echo is certainly going to add a wrinkle into things as well, given that greater droning capability, which actually is a great adjustment too, because DarkZero has kind of been throwing themselves. We've seen from the first round, at least on this defensive side, they've been throwing themselves in quite a few situations where PB is just able to easily capture those kills and take advantage upon DZ that way. But if they're going to use the Echo as a bit more of an active drone here for their extensions, then we could see that proficiency go back into DZ's hands, hopefully.
And Mizzou able to use these yokais very aggressively if DZ still want to throw them in those positions, as you said. Have the intel. Right now, Parabellum aren't looking to immediately counter some of the roamers on PB. They're getting that initial break room control that we've seen teams, whether it be Armory or Throne or Bunk or Daycare, go for repeatedly in the M80 Beast Coast game. Right now, in DarkZero versus Parabellum. The tale of many games on Theme Park throughout not only the North America League, but also Rainbow Six as a whole. Laxing, of course, with the Rotero drones as well. He's set up tent. He's got a fire roasting outside of lab, and he's using those Rotero drones as he warms himself up to clear this utility. It's tale as old as time right now as utility goes back and forth to clear out each other team. But right now, the only player inside the building for the attack is Skies. As a Dokkaebi call goes out, the Jackal has made his way to bottom Dragon, and likely will be joined by Spiff, as they'll be the main spear for Parabellum to try and pierce the defense from Cash.
Mr. PB starting to make those entries, of course, moving in from Dragon's side where DZ do not have a presence whatsoever. So it'll be free map control for them to start things out. But beyond that, of course, very difficult to continue getting that 4th free. They do have the inside to leave on Cavini here. Still know he's playing behind the half wall on initiation. But still need to try and deploy themselves into a position where they can find him, as Cavini, as we've seen throughout the course of this game so far, has been one of the brighter stars so far for DarkZero in terms of fending off those more pressured situations. So there we go. Don't even need to really call the comm, as I pretty much just teed it up for him there. Cavini sets up a very nice opening kill for his teammates, but Sky's able to capture him. You could tell PB had a huge amount of focus on hunting him down, as at least 3 players, I believe, were trying to do so. And they'll finally succeed, but it'll cost them one of their own.
Still a 4v4, make that a 4v3 as Skies through the vault wall will cut down Canadian, but only 30 seconds left. Parabellum have already shown that when they cut it close, they can still come away with a victory. Just look at round number 7. Flashbang will go on in, still blinds Pan Mizzou, Laxing put to low HP and now finished off. So DarkZero can hold down for the time being, try to get this kill on the player break, but it still goes Fish's way. Achieved loses the fight, and Parabellum in a prime position to move to the post plant.
And Jared Panda looking for a way to get back into the situation, but already one of them found out here. Frostbat does down one of the attackers as well, however. So it's down to a 1v1 now. NJR with a good capability to actually bring his teammate back from the fold as well. Downs his opponent before going for the res, but brings him back regardless. Fish repelling back in now after initially hopping back in. He's like, oh wait, I might need to actually play a bit of a bigger piece of this one. He tries to leap back in, just barely avoids getting clipped off from initiation as well. Chucks the drone, and the counter defuse has already been started. Fish, you need to get yourselves into this one, and unfortunately far too late. DZ steal this round instead, and they'll pick it up away from PB, who seemed like they had full control, but never mind. The post play, everything fell apart.
Those close rounds of Parabellum, if you're going to really base this on a 3v3, 2v2 execute with only 15 seconds left, it can turn on a dime. And sometimes you can hop out a window, then realize you need to rappel back in if you want to play that post plan effectively. Because unfortunately, the angle that Fish would have had would have been a little difficult, and also because that play on DarkZero was down, DarkZero could easily play the trades on that rappel. It's not as easy to make it work on a rappel as if, say, there was a balcony there. It would have been a difficult spot for Fish to play had he stuck it out on the rappel. So going back in was the right decision, and it provided some good fodder for us as well. It was a very slow round for Parabellum overall, really taking about 2 minutes and 30 seconds before we hit the execute, and 2 minutes to really set up the round overall. But instead of going to lab, DarkZero have gone to initiation. So, new site. Didn't see it on the M80 Beast Coast, haven't seen it so far for Parabellum DarkZero. I imagine for Parabellum, they might try to take this from Cash, since they like going for just that brute force style of execute.
Berlin is going to indicate very heavy intel style of play coming in from PB, so maybe trying to build up that bank for themselves and then bring it all to blows at once. Let's get surprise DarkZero with a booming execute and not leave any room for a retake, let alone a response to that aggression. So let's see if that's going to end up being true here. Is PB out on the map yet again on this attacking side for their third attempt now, trying to pick up another round and still potentially looking for that 6th out of 7 rounds as well. The possibility to deny DZ of a second place berth still alive and well here, but the chances are starting to slip with DZ finding their first footing there as well.
And JR with 3 kills so far, playing on the roam, looking to get a little aggressive. Ooh, sees that Rotero drone, but he can't shoot it. It's bulletproof once it hits that detonation stage, so you have to watch his barbed wire go bye-bye. Unlucky for you. Still go for a kill later on. The one thing that Parabellum have right now, it is a very slow execute. They're using Skies on this Jackal to play a similar role as the Nook would have played if the Nook was unbanned. He's got those Inox scanners to catch any feet and go for any roamers, so while he can't shield himself from cameras and cloak himself, he can find any roamers and be a solo hunter down below to try and find any lurkers. That is what Parabellum are using him for, to take their slow attacks and try to provide some lubrication for the gears and the wheels to make things turn a little quicker. Of course, they have to actually get into position because Skies by himself won't do much. They'll need to have someone play his trade. That's what Parabellum are setting up right now. They put NJR down to low health, NJR on DarkZero. Beyond that, there's nobody from Parabellum really even in the building.
NJR continuing to maintain that arcade window position, but it's going to be PB that once again finds the first kill against NJR himself. Sky just waltzing into the bunks as well here, tries to make his own impact known, but it's Pan by now striking back, not with the elimination of Skies, not just with the elimination of Skies, but Fish as well, downed out by him. Spiker to re-equalize though, finds Canadian, brings it back down into a 3v3. Pamba, the next one to fall also here. Spiff continues to isolate out the defenders one by one. Achieved nearly also found out by Spiff as well. Does he need to cool things off here? They continue to give over 1v1s from this defensive end of it, and that's allowing for PB to work their way back into the round.
Whole match point. Is it gonna happen, John? Surely not. Achieved on 1 HP. Gavin, the newest pickup, at least in terms of age and Pro League experience, the only one on full health to make this work. Parabellum like cutting it close, but now they have a man advantage. Achieved C4 could make things better, but now he's dead. It's all Gavin in the 1v3, and Parabellum have the man advantage and now control of the site.
Cavini still looking for a way to rotate back into this play as well. Not really given any option. The immediate swing from Yellow is alive, and it'll take him down. Spiff score yet another kill as he nearly single-handedly dominates DZ on this round. Beautifully done. And now that sets them up for the shutdown and the denial for DarkZero in the second place. The Sonics may very well be taking that position instead if PB can win 1 out of the next 3.
One round. One round is all we need for an upset. A timeout now from DarkZero, John, because they've said,
expect.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
Something ain't right.
Something ain't right. Look, he's even, Chief's even like, all right, guys, let's settle down real quick. We're not actually going to lose this, right? Like, I know we only need 6 rounds.
All right, guys, now we really start playing, right?
Yeah, now we need to go into overdrive.
Now we go to Throne.
Can you imagine this all the time? It's like, guys, just go Throne. Shuts off the mic.
That was the entirety of the input from the coach.
No.
Sky still with a lot to say, obviously, from the other side of things for PB now. We're going to be seeing what kind of strategy Parabellum can also bring out on what very well could be the final round. Like we said, 3 attempts for PB on the attack to make it work. It's not going to be Throne, though. It's going to be Lab that DarkZero trying to descend down into. And I'm not going to lie, that's a bit of a risky site for DarkZero to try to play into here.
Oh, I love this.
So we're going to have to wait and see. PB could very well still be lining up for the upset.
And I also want to say, just in case, even if DarkZero gets a 5-round comeback, props to PB for how they played so far. Has it been a slow attack on Theme Park? Yeah, but also kind of as you'd expect on Theme Park. I mean, what are you going to do? Get attacks in 45 seconds? This isn't Chalet.
Not only that, but you're playing against DarkZero.
You're playing against DarkZero, who are like, if they won
the slowest team in the world.
If they won in regulation, they would have gotten first. So I'm not expecting you to get these attacks in a minute and a half. But what have they done? They have shown a scrappiness and an ability to still win out these very close rounds on attack, and also on the defense, command a very large presence in the early round on the previous half. And now they're on match point. If they win this in regulation, they might only keep themselves in 8th, but they will put Sonics in 2nd place.
All right, well, let's see now. You just need to get it done on this round, and that will be it. DarkZero will have a very sad day, as unfortunately they will not be able to celebrate. They're sent into the next stage, or on the next 2 stages of the NAL. To work a little bit harder for it instead. It'll be, once again, the Sonics that move forward in their place, but at the same time, like we've been talking about during that pause, DZ knows these play contentions as well. They're absolutely aware of what they are potentially risking by losing this matchup, so you can expect a bit more of a serious face to be put on for these rounds here. That may involve a little bit of a pullback with regards to their aggression as well, but not currently with the way that things are currently being played out. When you look at their positions across the map, still very keen on taking these early battles against PB if the angles work out for them.
The opening kills on defense for DarkZero have been a lot more favorable towards them. Parabellum commanded a very solid lead in the opening picks when they were on defense, but for DarkZero, it has been a little bit more slanted towards their direction. The conversions have just been the main problem for them with these defenses so far. They'll get the pick, it might be Panba, it might be Gavini, but the round could still go Parabellum's way. So even if DarkZero get this first pick, just hold up until we get to those last 45 seconds to 30, because Parabellum could still win this out. They're going for the normal clear. They're starting over on Cash. They're going for the full. There's one player playing aggressively on yellow. Now Parabellum will open up the angle to get to it. They'll need to start focusing on this player, trying to put a lot of pressure on that position, but DarkZero, wow, look at this. They will all move back to the balcony and arcade stairs. They are really not trying to give away an opening to Parabellum.
Not taking any risks here, wanting to bring it all back to the site before Parabellum gets that first real gun duel. A little bit of a kind of sudden horizontal setup ends up showing up here for DarkZero as well, as they deploy a player into barrels and Throne alongside of that one. So moving the positions away from arcade, of course, but they weren't really able to establish any crossfire, but now going to try to play it on the flat level of things. No, that's the problem here. The top downs now would be opened up by the members of Parabellum, already isolating out one member of the defense that's achieved going down, so he'll be eliminated from play. Parabellum also with that +1 advantage means they can start to kind of haphazardly swing themselves into a few of these positions once they properly drone them out to basically just trade their way to a win if they want to go that route.
Even with the man disadvantage, DarkZero have a lot of really good angles. Parabellum will have to move through that bottom floor, and DarkZero still retain control of Throne. There's Gavini as well, tagging on for a kill, killing Skies outside the lab window. That is a lot of release pressure that Parabellum were looking to count on, so as they push on in, they'll have to deal with angles on 2 separate sides.
Nade's coming out for Spiker, trying to make sure that he has the cross established, and indeed he will. Another lead found, but lead lost as well, and now regained by the defense as DarkZero picks up 2 kills to the 1 that our attackers found. Time is running out. Spiff has to throw that case onto the ground, but no, NJR retakes and stops the plant, so DZ holds on. 2 more to go, and they'll lock in 2nd place.
An unorthodox choice going to lab, but it works out for DarkZero in the end, and now they will go back to Throne the spot that we would say, oh, this is the best site for the defense, all that stuff. You know, just copy and paste what anybody would say in that position. They'll go back to Throne, but they still lost it by very narrow margins as NGR went in for the retake, failed to predict where the plant was going to be. But it was another very close round, and honestly, out of the close rounds so far, that was probably the closest it looked to go DarkZero's way, where Parabellum didn't have a clear advantage, and it only arrived after NJR didn't push as aggressively on the plants. This was still a round that DarkZero very well could have won, so this is not a guaranteed 7-4 for Parabellum. In fact, this could be more probably a 6-5 for DarkZero if they're able to play the early round as disciplined as we saw them do last time. Play aggressive in about the first half, shoot some drones, back off, play your secondary positions, then wait for PB, stall out the time.
You can see the play contentions one more time at the top left there. If DZ win or lose in overtime, they finish top 2. If DZ lose in regulation, Sonics, the top 2 spot instead. Pretty much said that on every single round so far, so we hope you've gotten it by this point.
That's why we have those tooltips, you know.
Yeah. I want to constantly remind you guys. Storylines, very important. So that's our job, to tell stories.
Call us
and yell
authors.
Yell when people die.
That's why I do this.
What would you say?
I just like to talk. I just like to be loud, gesticulate, even though they can't see me.
You just like to be the loud one in the room.
You probably have gathered that by now.
Like the guy with, you just like to be the guy with the microphone in the room with a lot of people.
People don't give me the microphone often enough in my.
It is very cool. Like if you're working in an arena and it's like, oh, I have the voice of God right now.
Yeah, but then they have to see that I'm actually quite short. Can you imagine me standing next to the hammer and I'm as tall as the hammer? Very awkward. 45 seconds in right now between DarkZero and Parabellum. All right, Spiff almost dead as someone runs out of cash. But Pamazu almost loses life as well. Sky still the one to go down. DarkZero controlling the early round on the defense, but again, still struggling to make a conversion. What do you like, John?
I like the aggression from DZ, shaking up the expectations. We already saw in the previous round, DZ playing this hyper-passive game, so PB kind of falling into his false sense of security that, okay, the early run's probably going to be pretty straightforward for us here. Never mind. DarkZero literally running out the cash door now, trying to directly challenge PB's initial control of just Dragon. So that'll cost him a player. Nearly a second one, too, as Spiff thankfully catches things before that final shot can come in from DZ's aggression out the cash door itself.
Now, Parabellum do have control of that top floor, and there are not a lot of secondary positions being played by DarkZero. They're all pretty much inside of the site. There is one player still on that top floor, admittedly, a couple all the way back over by Bunks and Daycare. But the top Dragon control and the control inside of cash, that is what Parabellum have, and it doesn't look like they're going for more. It looks like they want to go for this half clear, so you'll need Laxing to hold down the flank, you know, the thing he's been doing for about 5 years now. Hold down the flank on that top floor as they push on in, but now Parabellum making some of the mistakes DarkZero did. Panma on drone down below. There's 2 more that he can fight, and he might even climb up this hatch as well, but as Laxing goes for the kill, they will shut him down. That's PB's first kill of the round. Still a lot more room to be made up here, and unfortunately timing is going to become an issue relatively soon as well. They do have the breach opened up. Nicely done here as well. The stun goes around the corner, but no aggression to follow that one up, so won't be able to really punish Fish alongside that concussion that just went out from the Echo drone. NJR wants to potentially swing the angle here in just a second. He's making it very, very difficult for PB to justify a push forward when we consider the fact that he's right around the corner for it. Like we said before, constantly keeping PB guessing, especially when you consider that this is a newer roster. You have to really find that cohesion between each other. So making them second guess themselves is going to be a great path to victory here by DarkZero constantly changing up the expectations in terms of just generally how they play things on a round-to-round basis. Still only 2 players inside of Throne to be dealt with as well, but you still have the upstairs setup. It's going to be a little bit of a problem as well. 1 more player still also over towards the throne room. 1 of the 3 from the attack has already gone down. Let's make that 2 as NJR more than ready for the challenge. Laxing gets a 1-for-1, but that'll send it down the river as members of DarkZero bring it down to only 1 more round that they need to tie things up and along the way confirm their second place finish here at the end of the stage. All right. This is the round. Do Sonics get second or do DarkZero or somebody in that top 2, but not Sonics, because they need that regulation victory. Have the round 12 Parabellum Lycan timeout, as some might call it, try to get just the 1 attack on the board. But again, this has not been an easy half for them. The 1 round they got thrown came very close, and now that was a very dominant DarkZero round. In order to win this, they will need something we have not seen. Or I suppose maybe they could bet it on just a very narrow 1v1. But as a team right now, you're not looking for that. You're looking for a decisive win. You know they can't go back to Throne. Bunks has just opened up, and Lab is closed unless they go initiation. You know it's going to be bunk. Maybe you can bring a Ying, bring a Lion, a Dokkaebi, something like that. Just blitz them, rush them completely, stop them from being aggressive in the early round by being aggressive in their face, and get that round 12, and get Sonics that second place.
All right, well, let's see if it'll end up being the case. The pause has concluded. We are now going back into it. Round 12 has been achieved now. It's time to see if, once again, Parabellum can hold on and play the ultimate spoiler here by denying DarkZero just one round short of exactly what they needed in order to qualify for second place here.
It'll be bunk and daycare. Like we projected, like we thought might be the case. But frankly, to be honest with you guys, I'm not really interested in DZ's lineup. Panbazu's Doc, and that is interesting. There's a Valkyrie on the board, and that's important. But what are PB gonna do? No changes in their lineup so far. No repick on any operator. Will we see a Ying? Will we see a Lion? We see a Dokkaebi? But that'll be it. No changes whatsoever from PB, and it won't just be a rush on round 12 to try to just knock one more round in their favor. They have really rethought their attacking strat down to the fundamental level for round 12, and are not just going to try to win this on a cheesy one-off, but are going to try to win this the right way and do it by the book.
So early pressure will be working its way over to Cafe as well as Dragon's side to slowly pinch out both ends of the map away from DarkZero. DarkZero, like we said before, have been very slowly kind of modulating their own play style here, so PB don't necessarily know what to expect. They have to be extra cautious on their initial clear, which is going to cost them in terms of timing. We've already seen just the past 2 rounds, PB really struggling to try and maintain enough time in the bank to make these attacks work. So we have to see them exercise a little bit better control over that this time. So you can see them keeping an eye on the sides of the buildings, making sure there's not going to be any hop-outs or any other shenanigans deployed by DarkZero here in the opening minute of the round to try and gain an advantage.
Skies has been this main player on the lurk for Parabellum. He's had middling success so far, especially since the rehost. Even last round you saw on the throne just running into sight, down with the diffuser. And now he's in that same position, albeit on a different operator, the Jackal. This could be good. He's got those nades that he can establish control from below. Maybe if somebody's playing aggressively, all right, well, he's dead, never mind. Now 5v4 for DarkZero. They have that opening pick. They have that advantage. And Parabellum, who are, again, just looking to brute force this through Arcade and Cafe, now are at a man disadvantage. And they're basing this on an execute that always comes down to the gunfights. They're going to need a kill in the next 30 seconds to make this even remotely in their favor.
Spiker and the rest of PB still down that player. DarkZero continuing to play the very passive game, and Parabellum not finding a way to win it, it seems at this point. Overtime starting to look more and more likely, and that'll be a huge sigh of relief for the DarkZero camp if they're able to achieve it. Fish begins his push forward from the interior of the bathroom as well, though not very confidently. He has the hot drone to assist him in it. That won't find a whole lot until it reaches the top of yellow, but cash pressure also beginning to work its way in as well.
And now Spiff has rotated along with another player all the way to the other side. Fish making his way up yellow. He's out of nades. A very late rotation by Parabellum. If DarkZero haven't read into this, this might catch them off guard. But with a player down below, if Fish ends up dying here, that could be overtime for DarkZero waiting.
More damage going on to members of Parabellum here. Once again, PB not taking good care to make sure that they get themselves to the site with adequate time to attack it. PB now losing another member of their team as Panba strikes back against it. He finds a second pickup as well here. Spiff going down to it. Canadian yet to strike from the bottom of yellow as well, and they're not even going to need him. DarkZero hold the line, bring it back from the 3-6 deficit, and put themselves into overtime. In the process, locking in second place for the stage.
Heart goes out to Parabellum. They gave Sonics a good run. Obviously, it was Sonics who were hoping and praying that PB could stop the comeback. But unfortunately for them, just one more attack on Theme Park was not within the cards today. So now DarkZero starting on the defense for our first overtime and most close game of the day on the final day of the group stage. They'll get the start on the defense, and it seems like with that being the case, and Parabellum not really mounting a particularly convincing effort on the attack, John, it seems like this might be a DarkZero victory waiting to happen, even if it takes all 15 rounds.
Yep, DZ certainly finding correct footing for the situation now. after being able to course correct in the later portions of the second half. PB losing their own edge. We'll have to see if the attacking side yields them better results as they'll return to the throne room assault here. For one final go of it before they get to switch back over to that defensive side. DZ, just 2 out of 3 of these next rounds needs to go their way, and they'll gain the lion's share of points from this game. But ultimately, both teams now really with nothing to play for. Not even the spoiler from PB anymore. It's all about this just lone matchup here. It's all just for bragging rights at this point in terms of who took the match over who. All of the overall playoff contentions have been decided now.
They get the interview if they win.
True, yeah. The pop-off.
Yeah. We get to see Laxing's extremely clear camera just to make sure that we know exactly how big those muscles are. We'll see how that happens.
So apparently, okay, so just setting up the matchups for next week, I believe.
We got the stats guy, Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse over here. Give me the text message. If DZ win, they're going to end up playing the winner of Oxygen and Beast Coast next week. If they lose, they'll play the winner of Sonics versus M80. Because obviously we have a bracket next week.
We do have a bracket next week.
In case anyone's wondering how we know those.
Yeah, guys, it's not another best of one round robin next week. We're not doing this. It's not a redo. This isn't just like a show match or something.
Yep.
We got a bracket next week, so that will be decided. So if you did not hear, DZ if they win, OXG Beast Coast, they play the winner. They lose, they play the winner of SQ M80. And of course, we could theorize all we want about which opponent would they prefer, blah, blah, blah. But we still got a game going on. We still got a throne room defense for DarkZero in the first round of overtime as Parabellum, well, they're not looking to go for a full clear, John. It's OT. It's been a long day. They're going to open up this barricade and likely just storm on in through split to try and see if they can get their second attack, not to get SQ the victory, but to get themselves match point.
In they go to the connector. One member of the defense more than ready for this challenge as NJR holds it back. He can only go for one, but it's Panba to trade 2 more. DarkZero already asserting the ultimate control over this round. Going to push it one step further as Panba makes it 3 on the round. Skies left alone. Might as well send it in through a Dragon Door at this point. As PB unfortunately have lost their edge. Not a great capability for the clutch to happen. Definitely plenty of time, but not enough aim, unfortunately. Panba shuts it down with 1 final kill. 4 on the round for him. And DZ set themselves up for match point now. Look at dog.
I was about to say, that's a cute dog. That's such a cute dog.
I've seen it pop up a few times, actually, on the
You know what the dog's name is?
I actually don't know whose dog it is, so I don't know what the dog's name is.
I'm going to call them...
That looks like a lassie to me.
I was literally thinking.
Were you really?
I mean, I was thinking. I thought lassie, but I was like, that's too generic. I was like, I want to go with something crazy.
It is generic, but it's fitting. I feel.
What if you named the dog Tokyo?
What's the dog doing?
What is the dog doing?
What's the dog doing?
Oh, it's laying down.
It's laying down.
It's taking a nap.
Oh, it's so cute. I miss my dog.
I miss my dogs too. I don't own any because I'm at college. My dad has some.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Shout out to Henry and Chase. My dogs.
They let you have dogs at your school.
No, if my landlord found out I had a dog, I would not have an apartment anymore. They are very serious about that.
Okay, you don't have a dog yet.
I don't have a dog.
Yeah. For legal reasons.
Legal, formal, very serious. I'm friends with a deer that lives in the backyard. I'm not even lying.
How did that happen?
Because I'm a druid, man.
What?
I'm in tune with nature.
What?
I got animal friends.
You Radagast?
That's a Lord of the Rings reference.
Yeah, yeah.
Curious. Doa did another Lord of the Rings reference at the beginning of the other day. His Bilbo speech. One more round, potentially, between DarkZero and Parabellum. This is Parabellum's first defense, and actually, John, in all fairness, 2PB, 4-2 half they got on the defense. It's been the attacks that they have predominantly struggled with. But DarkZero looked a lot better on their defenses than Parabellum did on their attacks. So again, we're looking at who had the better probability of closing it out last round versus this one. I'd say DarkZero have the better one. But still, you gotta say, Parabellum, they're on throne. Let's look to see if DarkZero can secure the opening pick, something that they really struggle to do on their attacking half. And if they get it here, might be the difference maker to secure this 8-6.
Montaigne coming into the fold for DarkZero as well. Obviously, first time we're going to end up seeing this one since the regulation half, where DarkZero did try to play into it one time, use it to kind of give themselves a little bit more security, mainly when clearing out the extensions. So it's going to be used a bit differently this time, as I believe they're just going to directly press it into the site. We'll see if it pays off either for PB or DarkZero, because of course Spiff Since they haven't fully explored things over by Dragon Stairs yet, he has the potential to lurk right back in, get in the way of this one. Although the drones will kill that potential pretty quickly. He'll impact it out, take down not only that drone, but an additional one as well here in Canadian. We'll rotate back out just to make sure Spiff didn't decide to stick around in a sneaky position by the Dragon statue or somewhere else nearby.
One player from PB creeping up the 90 hallway. Well, tag achieved down to very low HP as he's playing the Thermite because Canadian's on Monty, so someone has to shoulder the burden. Fish will back up for the time being as he knows that Monty's now looking his way. Excellent impact trick from Parabellum. I was just about to say, that'll be the main avenue they'll try to deny this exothermic, and right now, there's not only the impact trick, which will likely go out once the second exothermic goes on the wall, but there's a C4 ready and waiting from Skies. And John, there are 3 players all right there, but they only get 1. It's still the Thermite, though. The only source of hard breach for DarkZero. Now, yellow wall will remain closed. Maintenance wall will remain closed. DarkZero, if they want to close this out, 8-6. I've said it so many times today. We'll just have to flood into the site, win all these gunfights, and hope the angles go their way.
Panba does find a response kill to the loss of their hard breach a few moments later. Time is starting to get a little bit dangerous for DarkZero here. They've come down to the final 40 seconds of play, looking to get the better of PB's defense still. Like you said, that the flood is the only way to make this happen. And one of those remaining 4 is still going to be the Montaigne as well, so it's going to be a very slow flood at that. Yeah, we'll have to see how it all pans out. Cavini trying to open up any angle into the Arsenal side of the site to potentially give away a few of these positions, but DZ are just not finding anything. Really hoping there would have been more of an emphasis on the off-site positioning, but just not localizing it. Unfortunately, they do have to commit themselves to the inside now. Spiff with a dash and kill to take out NJR. Spiker to shut down Canadian. It'll all fall to pieces so quickly for DZ. Their 2 remaining players still on the outskirts of the site. They don't even want to commit themselves to it. The round is done for. PB have tied it back up. So we got the full distance to round number 15 to settle this matchup.
All 15, boys. It's a best of 1 right now. Just 1 round. 1 round, John. We'll decide who wins, who loses, but not at all who places somewhere in the group stage.
Yeah, that's already done for.
That's already done.
That's 3 rounds.
That's already done. PB are playing for the interview and a late dinner. And it'll all come down to bunk and daycare. Now again, you know, we talk about things a lot. DarkZero on the defense. But this is the time for PB to show us, to play a game. Do you want to play a game, John? Do you want to play a game with me?
No, I care. You asked me like really aggressively. Like,
you want to play a game with me?
Sure, what's the game?
The game is, repeat after me.
Okay.
Will Parabellum win an attack? Will Parabellum win an attack, ladies and gentlemen? They did it once, and it was a 2v2. And they have not been able to do it since round 7. It's what got us here in the first place. Mounted the comeback for DarkZero. Can they win a second one and secure the victory and bragging rights and an interview? That is the question.
Let's find out.
Let's find out in this high-stakes, high-octane game of Rainbow Six Siege.
DarkZero not bringing, actually they are going to bring the dock in for Panba. So
ooh, I'd love to see that level of docking.
So Panba will bring the dock into the fold now. And we'll see if it's going to add any potential resistance to the clear from Parabellum. Alongside that as well, gives him that great capability to kind of reboost his teammates. DarkZero have had a few problems exercising their own aggression on the PB's initial clears. This will hopefully give them a little bit of boost to that one when those players ultimately have to fall back to the kind of mid-site positions around the 1.5–1 minute marker. We'll more than likely see that little bit of a juice up from Panba. Hopefully help out his teammates in the process. But no wild aggression being swung out from anyone on DZ just yet. They have kind of rolled that back from a few rounds ago, and we were seeing them quite literally run out on the cash door onto quite a few of the members of PB. Commanding quite a bit of an effective play from that too, but it's all gone by the wayside. And we've got a much more default style coming up from DZ on this round again.
They are not trying to reinvent the wheel here. Just trying to play theme park. We know how it is. We know the play-by-play. We know what you got to do. Hold initiation, hold office. Right now, Parabellum just chilling outside right now, but players quickly making their way up Dragon Stairs, one especially inside of security. That was a Gemini Replicator, not only tricking the defense, but me as well, thinking that someone had just sprinted in from caution to the wind. No, they tried to get some intel, but now they'll back off. But Parabellum are very much, as you said, that DarkZero trying to play default on the defense, Parabellum trying to play default on the attack, not trying to base this on a push in from Arcade and Cafe like they've done most of the other rounds. They're trying to go for the clear from the north side this time. It'll be Canadian they'll have to deal with only 2 sets of nades. They'll have to be careful that they land. The first one misses, and if the second one does as well, Canadian might just remain alive.
That rotate, I think, actually allowing the grenade to roll just a little bit too far to not actually find the proper impact against Canadian here. So unfortunate, but he still overpeaks the angle very slightly mid-reload as well. So gives it away, but this is where the Doc comes in to help Pan, but juices him back up, I believe, through that rotate inside of Yellow. Puts him back at near full HP, allows for him to peek. Gavini, in the meanwhile, cleaning up not just 1, not just 2, but 3 members of Parabellum here. Laxing is also going to be put into the hot seat here, but he finally gets the better of Gavini and ends his rampage. Canadian, you can spot him a mile away with this barrel pinging, but Fish can't follow the spray through, and Canadian shuts down the remaining 2 players, giving the map and the match over to DZ. 8-7, full 15 rounds to get it done, but they do ultimately close it down and lock in a second place finish in the process.
Your standings, top to bottom, SSG, DZ, SQ, OXG, BC, M80, Mirage, PB. We have it locked, boys. And unfortunately,